So thinking about, actually, I was going through some videos yesterday and I was thinking about where do you begin? When you start thinking about creating a video game, it's like, how do we start? It's such a massive undertaking. And I think you have to break down, obviously, if you're brand new to all of this like I am, what skills do you need to make a video game? Well, you need a game engine. You need some sort of character modeling tool. And I I touched upon this in the last video, but I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff I was going through yesterday. And you're like talking about, well, we need character models, we need to create animations, we need to create terrain, we need to create a world, we need to create art assets like swords and clothing and items. We need to create a UI for our game. We need to create a system that allows us to pick items up, equip items, unequip items. We need a system for combat. We need a system for enemy AI. We need to handle communication between you and the NPCs and trading with other players. If you have other players, you need to handle TCP/IP or some sort of networking play. We need to handle just the game engine again. We really need to talk about creating the game loop and handling the spawning of enemies and enemy spawns and death and respawns. And there's just the list goes on and on and on and on. Actually, there's an article somewhere, and I need to go over that article with you guys too in a video too, because it's a really, really good article. I'll try to find that when I stop recording this. But yesterday, you think about all these things, and as I'm a programmer, I'm a software developer, so I do development every week, and we break stuff down into sprints. We use agile development, and we think about trying to break things down to their smallest pieces so that we can progress in a very we can manage stuff. If you manage stuff in small increments, it makes things a lot easier. You say, well, this sprint we want to get this done. Maybe we're creating a report, and on the report we need these objects on the web page. It's a web page, right? So we need these things on the web page. So there's going to be the front end, the SPX code, or the JavaScript code, or just the HTML. There's going to be some styling. There might be, the middle tier code. If we get some middle tier components, some classes, some objects, some models. And we got the backend. We got the database, and where the data is coming from, and we have database schemas, and there's all those things, but you want to break it down to the smallest pieces. It's pretty much the same when you're thinking about a video game. And so what I was doing last night is I was looking at, for me, the first thing I kind of wanted to focus on a little bit was just creating a very simple character model that I could put into the game engine, just load into the game engine. And we could just go in the game engine, and we could even just do it in Blender. Just go into Blender and create the character model, and then create like just a flat plane that we can pose the character on, and make sure that we can then create the character rig and make sure that the animations, moving and posing the rig actually works the way we want it to. So when we start talking about those things, the first thing I approached, and I've got a bunch of tabs here, but the first thing I looked at last night was, well, I haven't used Blender in a long time. I actually used Blender way, way, way back in the day. I don't even remember what version it was. It was probably like 1 point something. And I even bought the Blender book. If you guys remember the old Blender book, that was how I used to actually donate money to Blender, was you could buy the book on how, like a tutorial book, like a book on Blender. And this is when the internet wasn't like it is now. It wasn't big. There wasn't a lot of stuff on the web yet. This type of resources we have now weren't up then. Or if they were just web page articles. There was no videos. There was no YouTube. But I bought the book, and this is a long time ago. I actually used Blender quite a bit, and I started to get a little bit comfortable, but I'd already came from a background of using Stratus Studio Pro a lot, and I was very fluent and familiar with Stratus Studio Pro. And let me go to, all right, drag this window over just in case anybody's in the stream, which I don't anticipate anybody will be. But just in case anybody is, be able to see any comments that they're making. So yeah, there was Stratus Studio Pro, and I used that, and I took a class at the RSU of Chicago on introduction to 2D and 3D character animation and stuff. And I felt like this is what I want to do. This is what I should be doing for a job. But anyways, let's get back to So I think I want to create a character model. What tool, what software I'm going to use? I'm going to use Blender. So I hadn't used Blender in a long time, so I wanted to get back up to speed on just kind of the basics of Blender, how to use Blender. It had changed so much. Remember, 2.8 is a lot different, and 3D modeling tools can change over time quite drastically, especially something that's open source like Blender, Blender is so cool. It's becoming so powerful, and it's becoming an industry. People are starting to use Blender a lot for professional work. Anyway, so I like Grant Abbott's YouTube channel, and there's a great video he's got called Complete Beginner's Guide to Blender 2.8, and he's got different parts to it. But I think if you're new to Blender, this is a great place to start. You can also go to the Blender channel, look up just the plain old Blender YouTube channel, and they've also got videos on 2.8, and you can go through those videos, and they're really useful. And then after I kind of went through this a little bit, and I only went through, like you can see, the first 5 minutes, and I felt like, well, I've got information I need to know to kind of just move around and do what I need to do. Then I went I started looking at, well, okay, let me look at some simple sample videos on character creation. And I know one of the ones that I found was just, again, Grant Abbott, and he goes through and
person. It's more of a block person.
and creates like a very simple low poly. And I think this is a great place to start if you're creating a character model, because you really don't want to do anything too complicated. You want to show progress. You want to feel like you're making progress, because that makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, and that keeps your drive to keep going on. So, going through this one, I think, is something I started doing. And this is, he talks about character reference sheets, and he loads them in as images in the front view and like a side view. And then he just starts
creating. You can add a few more loot cuts.
He just starts creating some basic, character, some basic objects, and turning it into like a low poly model. This is one way to do it, and I think this is a great way to start if you're basically brand new to Blender. There's also some other. I also want to say that there's so many resources out there. I just wanted to mention a few YouTube channels that I'm a member of, that I've subscribed to, that I like. I found that I was looking up a bunch last night for just low poly modeling. I found a few more that I've subscribed to. Colin Freeman's got one here on doing a bat
with the head,
and I was really impressed with this. I thought he did a great job here of going in and just looking at a picture and just modeling it out. And then, of course, he's using the the mirror modifier, so everything he does on one side is mirroring it on the other. And this was really, I was really impressed with this one and what he was able to come up with. And he just looked at some different images, but he ends up getting a really pretty cool looking bat character model. I thought this was a really good video, so I went ahead and subscribed to Colin. Another one, J&M is really good. I like J&M because he covers all different types of stuff. He covers Unity, he covers Unreal Engine, he covers Blender. For me, I'm more focused on Unity and Blender, but I do like Unreal as well. And he's got some good videos. And J&M also has the add-on, and let me run Blender. He also has the keyboard shortcut add-on. So if you go, let's see, if you hit the N key, it'll bring up the side here. You can see that we've got this shortcut viewer, which is what J&M created. And I just now started that. And so this is something you can download and install. And I definitely would recommend that, especially if you're, for me, someone like me who's learning to use, hey, what's up, Chris? You're learning to use Blender, but you want to be able to put these videos up on my channel. The whole point of my channel, The World of Oslar, is for me to learn how to do this, but also as I'm learning, I want to put the videos up on my channel so you guys can kind of see the process of how I learned it, and hopefully it'll help you maybe as you try to figure out trying to do something as massive as creating a video game when you really don't have a lot of experience with Blender, you don't have a lot of experience with Unity. Maybe you don't even have a lot of experience with programming. See, luckily I'm a programmer, so programming part of it's not the hard part. It's really the, using the game engine and using the 3D modeling tools and all of that, and the texturing and the animation and all those things that you have to learn. But here, you can see down at the bottom right corner, it's going to say, left, right click, shift mouse, middle mouse. We can create new objects in the scene. We can do shift A, mesh, circle. Hit the G key and I can grab. I can move it around, place it here. We can also go into I'm just showing you basic stuff. Some of the stuff I learned last night. Just Z key, wireframe. So we can go into the wireframe, and then we can go ahead and do Control R. Let me go to select mode. Let's hit Tab key to go into edit mode. We're going to left click this so we can select the face. I'm going to select a face here. This isn't really necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and select this face. I'm going to Control R. This is going to bring up the loop cut, and then I'm going to double click to set it to that loop cut in the middle here. And then I'm going to go ahead and select this other face over here. We're going to do Control R. And the reason I'm selecting the face is because it'll do a line from that face over to the next one usually. And then just double click. And then which one don't we have? We don't have one going across through here. So I'm going to select here and loop cut, double click to set it. And now I've spliced this cube up into 4 faces on each one. And if we go back into Z key, Z key. I got to get out of edit mode. I don't know why it keeps bringing up my... Oh, I'm hitting the Windows key. I'm such a noob. Let's go back to solid, and let's go back to here. Yeah, now you can see the different faces I've created. But now we could go into the face selection mode, and you can see that we've got these different faces that I've created. Do stuff like extrude, and anyways, just some basic stuff. But what's cool is now you're using J&M's. Let's hit the N key again, so we bring up this menu. J&M's shortcut viewer here, and that's what VUR actually. That's how he pronounces it, viewer. Allows you guys to see those little shortcut keys. So let's get out of Blender. And another channel, Darren Lyle's been around forever. I've gone through, I've got his this particular tutorial of creating this character here is on Udemy. So if you guys really want to go into if you like instructor-led courses, you can go to Udemy. I can go into my learning, and you can see that I've purchased quite a few classes, and you can see I haven't gone through too many of them, which is it's something I'm trying to rectify. But you can go into here to Udemy and you can purchase these courses. They're pretty inexpensive, anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks. They get a lot more, but I wouldn't try to get them around 10, 11 bucks. And again, if you want to buy these courses, try to, if sometimes at the price, like if I go to the Udemy webpage and let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, 3D, games, game development. And here we got Blender, Unity. We can kind of filter here. Let's say here's classes for just Blender. And we can look at the prices. Some of these are going to be really expensive, like $119. Well, I mean, you don't pay $119. If you see it for this much, what I would do is I would install the Udemy app on your phone, try to find this class on the phone. A lot of times they'll be cheaper there. Or if you can figure out who actually did the class, like created by Ben Tristram, right? What I would do is try to find Ben Tristram's, even like he works for Game Dev TV. I would go to YouTube and try to find Game Dev TV. Find their channel, their YouTube channel. I would go here, and then I would try to go to videos and try to maybe find some classes, find the information here. They've got like an RPG update, and a lot of times what they'll have is they'll have links, like I don't know if they have them here, but they'll have links to the actual class, and sometimes they'll give you coupons that way. Like right now I go, here's the course. I already own this one, but a lot of times these people's YouTube channels will have discount codes for them. Also, like I said, install the Udemy app on your phone. Try to find those courses on your phone. A lot of times the phone will have a cheaper price. Don't pay the 100 and whatever price. I mean, these guys need to make money, of course, but most of the times you can get these courses for between $10 to $25. I've never bought a course on Udemy for more than maybe 15 bucks. So yeah, JNAM, Darren Lyle's good. Udemy's a good way to get resources. This is my other YouTube channel. I found BrainGraph last night, and I actually liked his video, his channel a little bit. He's got some decent stuff. I liked the low poly. I liked his low poly, what he was doing here with a very low poly, because he wasn't using a character reference sheet at all. He was just creating objects and stretching and moving around, just basically your box modeling techniques. So I thought this was a pretty good example. When did he do? He did this in 2018. I don't know if this was under 2.8 though. It looks like it's not 2.8. I can tell. Yeah, this is not 2.8. I can tell by the UI. But I liked how he did this character, and I thought this was pretty good. And I thought this was a pretty decent one. So another channel you might think about looking at is BrainGraph. CG Creator's pretty good. He's got some good stuff. Or maybe it's she. It looks like a female. But I thought this particular one on creating a female character model in Blender was pretty decent. She goes through and does a pretty good job. So that's another one you can look at. I thought this video was just super cool because of how impressive it is. This Masahiro Ushiyama. This one's really cool. Check this out. Now you can watch these particular ones. Now, unfortunately, it's hard to learn stuff from these types of videos. You can go in and, of course, change the playback speed to maybe really slow. And you can see what he's doing. All right, let's mute the audio. And you can see kind of what he's doing. If you go in really slow, you can see he's grabbing some of these points, and he's got some sort of mirror modifier. So when he selects this point here, it's selecting the same vertex on the other side. And then he's just dragging it out. And as he's dragging it here, it's reflecting that same effect, that same thing over here, the same operation on both sides. So it can kind of help you figure out what he's doing. Again, he's just moving some of these pieces. And then he's doing some loop cuts there. You can see here he's just doing some loop cuts. But anyways, if you go through, and let's put it back to normal speed, you can learn a lot by going through some of these videos and just watching what they're doing. And then just try to take what you learn from that and go into Blender and start trying to emulate some of these things. But there's plenty of courses. I'm just saying I like to see different people's techniques. There's so many different techniques to do a character model. But obviously some of these, when you watch these people, some of these people are more professional. They got more experience. This guy knows what he's doing. This is a really, really interesting video. I really liked this one quite a bit. You can see here again, he's adding loop cuts and stuff, and eventually he'll do like I think he does a smooth modifier. Let's see if he does. Doesn't look like he's done a smooth modifier. Still's got the same fairly low poly character model here. There he did a smooth operation. Do you see that? Let's go back real quick. See how there's quite a bit more vertices here? So here I think he does a smooth operation, I'm pretty sure. There, see how all the geometry was added? I believe that was just like one smooth operation. very cool video, and I liked his I liked that video quite a bit, and I thought that gave you a kind of a little bit of an insight to how he approaches it. Yan Sculpts is a great YouTube channel. I definitely, if you're into sculpting or character creation, I would highly recommend you subscribe to Yan Sculpts. Really, really good. CG Geek, this guy's a little oddball, but he does a lot of really cool stuff. He's kind of fast with his tutorials. Like, he just flies through stuff, like create a tree, low poly tree in 1 minute. But if you slow it down and watch what he's doing, you can learn quite a bit. It's not my favorite, but there's definitely content on CG Geek that's good. This guy I found is just an amazing artist, and if you guys are really into art, you can check out Jonah Dry. He does some really cool, just some mind-blowing stuff. Brackus, he's got some cool stuff. I found some more specific stuff to kind of like little niche things that you might be interested in, but definitely worth looking at. He's got some cool stuff. Nikolai, this guy, just forget this. This is something else I was looking at last night. And that's about it. I just wanted to talk about kind of some of the stuff that resources you can look at for character modeling. This was really cool, though, here.
Character rigs are definite.
This one I didn't even know about, and this is super really useful. This video is right off the Blender site, and I would highly, if you're going to learn Blender, definitely subscribe to the Blender channel, because they have really, really great videos. This one talks about using the rigger, the Rigify, which is an add-on which by default isn't turned on in Blender, but you can turn it on. Take a character model. All he's doing here is taking a character model, and he's talking about how you can go into Blender and add like your bones, right? Like if you're going to go in and say, oh, I want to get in the wrong key here. I want to go in here and I want to create like a bone or something. I want to create like the skeleton. Let's go here. Let's go solid and face select. I'm going to go into edit mode, face select. We're going to select this top face. We're going to extrude this up. I'm going to extrude it again, and then we're just going to go into vertex select and select this vertex. Let's take grab it, move it in a little bit, and we'll select this vertex and grab this, move it in. And just just give you something that looks, maybe looks more like the beginnings of some sort of a character or some sort of maybe a chess piece or something. You know what I mean? It could be anything, right? But and let's say we wanted to then create like some sort of a bone structure, and we were going to like animate this or rig this in some way, back to wireframe. And you would go into Shift A, and then we could go in and we could say, actually not Shift A. Actually, I think I have to get out of edit mode, Shift A, and we want to go to armature. Now, on mine, you see all of these different options, but normally you wouldn't see these options. This is because of Rigify. Normally you would just see like, single bone, and you would add something like this. You'd go in and, maybe you'd, kind of create some bones, right, to kind of rig up this little object, this little chess piece or whatever it is. But with Rigify, what's really cool is it shows in this video is that you got your character model here, and you can actually, they give you a link to where you can download this character model. It's kind of a neat looking alien little model. But he goes through, he basically just talks about what I was talking about, where you can add like a single bone. But there's a way that if you turn on Rigify in your add-ons, and he goes through and turns it on, that you can just load in a whole base skeleton, right? And then you can go ahead and resize this skeleton and take out the bones you don't need. There's a lot of facial bones. Take those out, and then you can basically hook it up and apply it to your model. And now you've got...
about how to do this in the separate Vertex Groups video. Now some of you might be wondering why it's called a...
And now you've got a bone structure that's actually attached to your model. And
meta-rig. This seems to imply that it's sort of an in-between.
Then he talks about how that's just the basic like bones, but there's also another thing where you can use, it's called a meta-rig, where you can actually turn this into a much more powerful animation rig with IK and inverse kinematics and stuff like that. And you can also do that just by going into this, and I'll play this right now, and you can see it's actually super cool. I didn't know this.
For something else. Well, while the Rigify add-on does provide these meta-rigs for easy humanoid skeleton rigging, that's not all it does. In fact, its main purpose is to automatically generate all of the advanced rigging features an animator might need, including IK, FK, custom bone shapes, and more. So while we can use the meta-rig as an actual rig just like we did earlier, if you wanted to use the meta-rig for generating a new advanced rig instead, there's just one extra step we need to do. To go over the steps from the beginning again, simply add the human meta-rig, or any Rigify meta-rig actually, to your scene, until it's done.
Okay, now we just went back to that part where we added the rig and just kind of resized it and took out the bones we didn't need.
go
Okay.
into the Armature Data tab,
Now he's going to
denoted
go
by
into
this
the...
green stick figure icon in the Properties editor. Here, if you scroll down, you should see a large Generate button.
rig.
Click this and wait until it's done. And there we go! You have just generated an advanced Rigify rig with constraints, custom bone shapes, and other advanced tools, all customized to fit your character's shape and size. From here, you can just select your character mesh and shift select your new Rigify armature and parent your mesh to your rig as you did before. This rig is quite powerful. However, if you want to learn how to set up inverse kinematics or bone layers...
So this is just a really quick way to create an advanced rig for your character model, and it's super cool. I thought that was really neat for people who maybe don't want to go the whole extra step to learning setting up the inverse kinematics. And all. I still want to learn all that, so I'll be doing that as well. But I thought this was a great video that I was unaware that Blender had this functionality built in, this Rigify. So definitely check that video out. And that's really all I wanted to talk about, was kind of what I was going through yesterday as a new person coming into wanting to use Blender, wanting to use Unity to create like a character model, like starting off, and what's the first thing I want to do for my video game? Well, for me, I wanted to create a character model. So I went through a lot of these tutorials, a lot of these videos, and I found a lot of these to be very useful. Just to give you guys kind of, maybe you can give me some comments in the comment section how you guys approach maybe creating your game from the beginning, or maybe if you have thoughts, or maybe if you have better references or better ideas of how to approach creating a low poly character model and animating it. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'm gonna go play some Guild Wars 2. We'll see you in that, Chris. And I'll next time I'll do some more game development tonight, and doing some more with my low poly character model. And so maybe I'll have another video up within the next few days with a finished low poly character model, and hopefully, you know, the finished rigging as well. And then we'll start talking about going to Mixamo, maybe downloading some animations and applying those to my character model, and maybe setting up the scripts within Unity and C# and all that fun stuff. All right, so I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.